Well, good morning. Welcome to another episode of Papa's Workshop. These are for Adam, Brady, Luke, and Brenna. But before we get started, we got to check in with my assistant. There she is. You ready to get to work? Yeah. We're going to start a new project today. Let's get to work. All right. We're going to start on a new project today. And after the last one, this is going to be a simpler, less time-consuming project. And it's going to be a Newport style card table. That may seem like a contradiction in terms, but the game tables or card tables were pretty popular, and there's all sorts of designs. So let's go ahead and we'll talk about the design or how I arrived at what I've got. Okay, here's another view of the table. It's not really the same table, but it's folded out, so you see kind of what the full size of it. I'm not probably going to put the little dimples in the top for the game pieces, since we're not really going to use it as a game table. So I think we'll just use the flat. All right, so how do you pick out the project? How do you start researching? I start with the books that I have, and this is one that I like. This is written by Albert Sack, and he's an antique dealer, and he rates the furniture by these things: good, better, best, superior, masterpiece. And so it has all sorts of pieces in it, and then he rates them as, you know, I picked out one that was a master. There's several choices there, so that's one thing. And what that does, it gives me the overall dimensions, and it gives me whether it's in a private collection or it's in a museum. If it's in a museum, I can usually find it online. If it's a Newport piece, which this is, I like these two, the Master Craftsman of Newport, and this book on John Townsend was actually put out by the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, and you can download this on electronic copy. But it has a lot of details, both about the history of those two, but also their furniture. And so that sometimes gives some more pictures of the insides, and that kind of, here's the card table flipped over, and we can see the hinges and how it's supported. So that's kind of where I start, get an idea. Then search the museums online and try to find more pictures. So once you've decided on a piece and you have the pictures electronically or in the book or whatever, you have to get the dimensions from the pictures, and that's a little troublesome. If you're lucky enough, here's a picture that's kind of straight on, but even that, if you look close, because the camera is up here high, it's narrower here than up here, and the feet are straight. They're not cantilevered in like that. So, you know, the camera can distort things. But across right here at this top, we know what the overall dimension is, and then so we can divide that up accordingly. Now, I've used CAD programs and I've used SketchUp, and SketchUp actually has a feature where you can put in a picture like this and define this point, and then you put the lines this way, and it'll find the focal spot out here and the one out there, and then theoretically it's supposed to be on the same horizon line. And I've had mixed results with that. A lot of the times you don't know what the picture has been cropped or or miss, you know, one axis changed more than the other, and the horizon doesn't end up being straight. This piece is even more problematic because this back foot is not in line with the front foot. See, we've got, it goes, you know, the contour goes, and it's down, it's basically at this level here at the edge, so that base of that foot is 3/4 of an inch back from that, so you can't really use this bottom. It's you know, anyway, but the things I found for me personally with the CAD programs is it's more difficult to do the curves, especially curves like this. You know, it can be done, and the more you use a program, you know, the better you get at it. But the biggest thing is you can't do it life size. I mean, you can print it out life size, but when you're working it on the screen, you can't do it life size. So, and my background, my first paying job, a summer job, was a draftsman. I wanted to be an architect or a draftsman, and so I did that for a couple years. Even while I was going to school, I was working as a draftsman at a machine shop. So I'm used to drawing, and actually this I don't know if you can see that parallel beam here. I've had that since the mid-60s. So it's easier for me to draw it out. So I kind of work off of this, and off the screen of the computer, try to get stuff expanded out that's kind of like the life size. In this particular case with the table, that is, we know that going down the side, it's the same dimensions. So once we figure this out, we're pretty close. And I always look on these reproduction pieces, they were real big on proportions. So I try to, I'll measure this out like in millimeters, since it's easier to do the math with the millimeters, and then measure those, and then look at the ratios between these, and, you know, divide by 5, divide by 3, the golden ratio, and see if any of them kind of line up. And a lot of times they do. So I kind of do that. So then once I got all of that kind of scaled, I will do the drawings. For things like this art, actually had a view almost straight on of the leg in one of the books. So I scanned that and then blew it up on paper so that it was life size. And so I'll just use that as a template. You know, put carbon paper underneath it and trace it onto the wood blanks. The curves of the legs is a little more problematic because, you know, in real life it's cut in 2 dimensions, so it's hard to actually make that pattern. So I kind of try to make the key points of where the top touches the blank, and then down at the bottom, and just kind of what it looks like. You know, I will make templates of this and verify that it really looks right when we get the template done, and maybe even make a pine blank, especially on this back leg. I've not done this kind of a leg before. This is a pad foot, you see in there. So that gets turned on the lathe on the bottom. So that's one of the challenges of this table. And I've not done the hinge part before. Let's see here. So this is the hinge part. So once I got it all drawn, then I got to make a bill of material, and you know that's what we need to use that list to pull the wood. So the last challenge for this is going to be, I do have some cherry boards that this tabletop is going to be 17¼ inches wide, and I do have boards that wide. However, there are rifts on, and so you've got the rings of the tree going this way on this side and this way on this side, so it's going to try to cup. But in most cases, I don't worry so much about that. If the wood is good and dry, which it is, and then we're going to secure it to a frame, in this case, allowing it to move with these slots. It's really, to me, it has never really been a problem if I do it that way. However, the fold top is freestanding. There's going to be no supports on it. It's not breadboarded. So I don't think I can do just that one piece, even though that's how they did it. In fact, there are several pictures of ones in the museums and stuff. There were a number of them that had warped tops. So that's with the finest mahogany, and they still had that problem. So, I mean, in a perfect world, you'd use a quarter sawn 17-inch wide board, which that's pretty hard to come by. So I'll have to make a decision on what to do. Obviously, I'm gonna have to cut out maybe the center section of those boards and glue up then 3 pieces to give me the top, and then I'll have to make the fixed one, probably do the same thing on it to make them look the same. I don't know, we'll save that for the end, but that's one of the challenges. I've never done this hinge before or the pad feet, so I always like to try to do something different or new when I build a new project. So pretty long-winded, but that's it. So let's go back down to the shop. All right, first thing we need to do is go to the lumber store over there and pull out the pieces we need. So here we go. Here's the tour over to the wood store. So I just have to pick out what I need out of there, and we'll get started. All right, I got everything roughed out. So now, where do you start? You want to start do the joinery first. Before we cut the shapes on the legs and the aprons, we want to be able to do the joinery, the mortise and tendons, while it's square. So we are going to square up and get our stuff to the finished size as far as thickness and width. And we'll leave the length long and get them milled up. So we'll start on the joiner, get a side flat, run it through the planer, get the sides parallel, and then back to the joiner, get one side square, and then back to the planer or the table saw, depending on the width, and make it square. So we got everything milled to its proper size and square. Then we can set it up and do the joinery. So we have to do the mortise and tendons on the front legs and the aprons. The back apron is dovetailed to the side aprons, but we can't actually do that till we get the joinery done on the front, so we know exactly what the width is. And then the back legs will get mortise and tendon to the hinge piece, which is going to be this this white oak piece. So we'll need to get that milled up too. And it's a case of the chicken or the egg. Do we do the hinge first, or do we do the mortise and tendons first? I guess we do the mortise and tendons, and then we'll worry about the hinge later. So we got to get to work. A lot of a lot of more milling that's boring, so back when that's done. Okay, got everything milled up that has to have the mortise and tendons. So everything is cut to thickness and to width, but not to length. But I did square off one end. So now what we need to decide is the grain direction on all these pieces. This is going to be the hinge piece, so that really doesn't matter. It's not going to be seen, but we do need to cut it into 3 pieces. And 2 pieces will get mortise to the back legs, and the 3rd piece, the center piece, will be the hinge, or the fixed part of the hinge. So that one is good. What you want to do on the legs, okay, on the legs, you want the grain, if this is the square legs looking down on it, you want the grain to be going this way, from corner to corner. And that gives you then 2 options. If you make this the front, then what you'll get is lines this way, and that'll follow the contour of your cutting. If you do it from this side, you'll get circles as you go down. As it cuts these grains, each one of these will form a little circle. And I think the straight lines look better. What you really don't want is the grain to be doing mostly this way, because then no matter what you do, one side's going to be straight lines, and the other side you're going to get just on the side. So you're going to have one with lines, and the other one is going to be funky thing. It's not going to look, the 2 sides of the leg as you look at it won't look the same. So we want the grain to be going corner to corner, and we want the one that's got mostly the straight grain. I mean, in a perfect world it would be perfectly straight, but that's not what the reality is. What normally you're going to end up with something like this, where mostly it's the ones here in front are going this way, but you're a little bit off on the back. So I've done that. Where I bought the cherry from Iron Lumber in Pennsylvania, I told them I needed 12-quarter stock for legs, so they picked out stock that has, now if you can see that, where the grain is going on those. So I got where the red arrow, that's going to be the front edge. The 2 back legs I've got done, and I made the templates. I made templates for the front and back, so that helped me. Once I decided which is the front edge, then I positioned it this way and this way to decide which end should be the top and which should be the bottom. And I try to miss some of the knots and stuff or whatever imperfections it may be in it. So I got those 2 done. Now the front legs, here it is. Front legs, we've got the material for the leg, but see, we've got extra, and that's for the knee. The knee is this part of the, it's going to go right there. So we need that to be on the, what we want is when that knee gets put on there, we want the grain to look the same as what's on this. Now, you know, you're going to be cutting away at this, but if it's from the same board, you can get it close. So I've marked, I've decided which is going to be the foot end. And again, I've got the grain is pointing this way. So I've already decided that. And so now I just need to trace this template on there, and then I'll cut off that extra, and I've made marks so I can orient this piece the same as the leg was. And I used a different color on this. On this one I used green, so I know which one is which. On the apron pieces, I didn't have, the grain on this one is going pretty much all the way across. It is what it is. That's what I had. I needed to use this 8/4 stuff up, so it's not going to be particularly striking with the curves, but it does kind of curl up to this corner, and all three of these pieces were from the same board, so they all do the same thing. They curl up. So I've oriented all three of them so that the front, this is going to be the front and the bottom. So we'll get them all looking kind of the same, however they turn out, they'll look the same. That's really what, you know, in this table, you don't really see all the apron all the way around at once, but when you're cutting those serpentine curves, what the grain is doing on the end matters. It makes the curved lines follow the cutouts, make them go up or make them go down. So again, in a perfect world, I would have wanted these to do the same thing, go corner to corner, and then that would have accentuated the curves. But I didn't have a piece that would match that, so this came out of a much wider, it's actually the center of a much wider board, 8/4 board. So now it's just a matter of tracing this pattern out. I made these templates both make it easy to lay out where, you know, which end is which and that, but it also serves as a story stick for where the mortises have to go. So I'll mark that all out on these, cut these to size, and then we can cut the mortises. All right, we got all the joinery done. We got the two back legs. These pieces will have to be cut to length and the hinge part put on them. So the back legs can be shaped. So that's pretty much ready. So we got the front apron, the side aprons, and I got the mortise and tendons on each of these. It's a 1/2 inch by 3 inch. But we've got the back rail that's got to go across here, and that is dovetailed to the apron pieces, and then the hinge attaches to that back apron. So now that we've got this done, we can get this exact distance and cut to length and do the dovetails on this piece. And part of this is going to be cut away. I do have a template, so that's kind of where going to be. So it'll be that much, that'll be that thick at the back of this where we're going to dovetail. So we'll probably mark that out so we know what we're going. So that's it for this episode, introductory episode to the card table. So next time we'll start on the dovetails, and then we can start shaping some legs. If you know anybody, thanks for watching. If you know anybody that's interested in 18th century furniture, share this video. Thanks very much.